so that scholars could work on it and produce results of their researches. There were whole volumes, damaged volumes, but nevertheless whole volumes, such as this one. This is a specimen that we've kept over the years as an example of the kind of thing that we found in the Geniza. Here you see a Chumash, that's a Hebrew Pentateuch, exactly as it was discovered in the Geniza. You can see the Hebrew text quite clearly, and we haven't done anything. We've preserved it in this form to show just how damaged this material could be. Can you see each one of these pages of vellum, skin, that is parchment, is brittle, and I couldn't possibly open it without damaging it. And this is the kind of material which they had to deal with. We shouldn't, of course, forget that some material had come out of the Cairo Geniza, been sold by the beadles and other synagogue officials to other scholars for many years prior to Schechter's visit to Cairo, so that there are today Geniza fragments in various parts of the world. There are some in Leningrad and some in Budapest, some in Strasbourg and Oxford and London and in Philadelphia. A particularly important collection is the Elke Nathan Adler collection at the Jewish Theological Seminary of America in New York.
"70 years have passed since I first met Dr. Schechter. I was then an applicant for admission to this seminary. At that time, he performed the duties which are now being performed by several faculty committees. He invited me to sit down and talk to him in a room about as big as this. First, he said to me, "Read." And then when I read for a few minutes, he said, "All right, you don't have to translate or explain. I see from the way you read that you understand the passage. Now I'm going to see whether you have common sense. Why do you want to come to the seminary?" I said to him, "I want to study here." "Oh," he said, "I see you have no common sense at all." I was naturally alarmed. I thought I wasn't going to be admitted. And he said to me, "No, I don't think you have much sense. You could go to the library and study books just as well as studying class. And in fact, in the class, you'll be held back by some other students." I said, "Well, Dr. Schechter, why does one come to the seminary?" He said, "One comes to the seminary to associate with great men." He himself, of course, was the greatest of all and most famous. He had brought to England 100,000 manuscripts from Cairo, which is more than anybody had ever brought before from anywhere. And they are still being studied by scholars now, many years after his death. At the time, though he was 25 years younger than I am now, he seemed to me to be an old man. And in fact, he was older than his years because he had spent some months trying to sort out the manuscripts in Cairo, which had gathered the dust of 1,000 years.
When Dr. Schechter came to the seminary at the beginning of the century, he brought with himself a rather large number of Geniza fragments from those fragments that he removed from Cairo during his visit there in 1896, 1897. However, the seminary's main collection of Geniza fragments, the bulk of our collection, is not from the collection of Schechter. Schechter was really not the first who discovered the Geniza, but he was the last who realized the great importance of it. There were many people before Schechter who visited Cairo and who had access to some of the Geniza. It was Schechter, however, who discovered its main importance and made the arrangements to remove the entire contents of the Geniza chamber and bring them over to Europe. In any case, those fragments that Schechter brought to the seminary, as well as the other fragments that we received through the magnificent collection of a collector by the name of Elkan Nathan Adler make the seminary a center of Geniza research. And today we have some 40,000 fragments of the Geniza in various stages of preservation and protection. Some of them are still loose, as you can see in this box. They are, however, already arranged in some kind of an order, at least according to size. There are, on the other hand, still fragments which are like, almost like at the time when they were found in the Geniza by Schechter and by others. Fragments that are completely unsorted, untreated, and unidentified. So that great find, which was made almost 85 years ago, is still in the process of being identified, researched, and protected, and a great deal of scholarship still has not even begun to be done. Various fields of Jewish studies that were enriched by the generations of scholars and which is still being done in various parts of the world can be best illustrated by some concrete examples if we go to some of the significant finds and the kind of insights that those fragments give us today for the understanding of a life that took place many, many hundreds of years ago around the Mediterranean area.
Now, what are these fragments? Why are they so important? Why have scholars been so fascinated by them for so many generations? The reason is that they are not just Bible and Talmud and Jewish law and Hebrew poetry and Arabic and Hebrew language. They are also glimpses into the ordinary life of the Jew in the street. They also show us clearly what his day-to-day existence was and how he related to his Muslim and Christian neighbors.
Among the many things that the Geniza yields is also the first fragment that contains musical notes in a Hebrew text. That of a proselyte by the name of Obadiah, who left Europe and traveled to the Middle East in order to become Jewish and live a full Jewish life.
He wasn't just famous for the fact that he converted, he wrote music, liturgical music, and clearly the notes which he used for his music are indicated on this fragment. They are important not just for the history of Jewish music, but also because it links Jewish music up with Oriental music and music in church, such as the Gregorian chant. Art historians are as interested in the Geniza